Imagine setting yourself apart from the competition because your organization is always secure, always available, and always ahead of the curve. That's NetGain Technologies, your total one source for cybersecurity, IT support, and technology planning. Picture picking up the phone and having decades of technology and cybersecurity expertise on the other end, like a bat phone, but with a team of specialists ready to make your business faster, easier, and more profitable. Since 1984, NetGain Technologies has designed, built, and implemented customized technology solutions for businesses of all kinds. They offer a clear roadmap and security plan to keep threats at bay, all at a predictable, affordable monthly cost. NetGain Technologies supports organizations across the United States, providing the benefits of a fully staffed in-house IT department and security team at a fraction of the cost. Get peace of mind. Get competitive. Get NetGain. Contact NetGain today at 844-777-6278 or reach out online at netgainit.com. That's netgainit.com and get ahead of your competition today. Come join us as we go behind the scenes of today's most notorious cybercrime. Every time we get online, we enter their world. So we provide true storytelling to raise awareness, interviewing global leaders making an impact and improving our world. Translating cybersecurity into everyday language that's practical and easy to understand. We appreciate you making this an award-winning podcast by downloading our episodes on Apple and Spotify and subscribing to our YouTube channel. This is Cybercrime Junkies, and now the show. Well, welcome everybody to Cybercrime Junkies. I'm your host, David Morrow, and am very honored today to be joined in the studio by none other than Bryan Seeley. Bryan is a keynote speaker, infamous hacker, author of Cyber Fraud, The Web of Lies, along with a lot longer title. We'll get into that in just a second, Bryan.
No need. The book sucks.
It's a good book, actually. And a former U.S. Marine. He's the only hacker and speaker who has wiretapped the U.S. Secret Service and the FBI. And he's also been interviewed by Harvey Levin on TMZ, which we're going to get into as well. Bryan, welcome to the studio, my friend.
Thanks for having me, David.
No, great to meet you. Great to have you on. So, little background: when you were growing up, did you know you wanted to be involved in security? No. Did you know you wanted? It wasn't
even. That's like saying using a debit card and having a PIN number means I wanted to get into two-factor authentication development. Like,
there you go.
I mean, it sort of qualifies you, but not really. Like, I knew I was good at computers because I was terrible at talking to girls. Like, whatever day in school
is that
the
was, litmus test? Then we're all really good at computers.
I missed that day. I've always enjoyed being on the computer. I like simulation games. Then I lived in Japan for a lot of my childhood.
Really? Why is that? Were you parents brought overseas?
My dad was an expat for a while, but what ended up happening after World War II was both of my grandparents became missionaries and raised their families collectively over there. So my mom was a family of 5, my dad a family of 6. And like, I'm talking like 6 kids in 8 years, like serious baby boomer generation. And all of them raised in Tokyo. So my father's 65, 67 or something like that. He lived in Japan almost 50 years.
Wow.
It's, for lack of a better word, home.
Yeah.
But coming over to the U.S., joining the Marine Corps, I mean, I was okay on a computer, but I wasn't proficient. I mean, I'd done tech support since middle school.
Okay.
Because the community out in Tokyo was like being able to like set up a printer, install software. It was still, there was no YouTube like tutorials. There was no Wikipedia, nothing.
Right.
So intuitively I understood it. And that was sort of like the base of operations for the foundation for learning this stuff. But I didn't even really learn most practical skills that I use every day until after the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
But it all gave you that sort of the base to operate from.
When you join the Marines, and thank you for doing that, by the way, it's awesome. We're part of InfoGuard. We try and help out any way we can, but we were not. We haven't served, so I'm always in awe of people.
Everyone can serve in their own way. It doesn't make one service better than the other. And there's plenty of people who were in the military who get thanks for their service who don't deserve it. Who did awful things while they were in the Marine Corps or other services. So thank you.
Thanks for saying
it was my pleasure. But I know a lot of people that I look up to are firefighters or cops or
absolutely. Yep.
Therapists or other people who've dedicated their lives to helping other people, and they've made a real impact on me, and that has shaped my, I guess, worldview and sort of outlook generally in life.
Yeah. So in the Marine Corps, did you join in like the cyber brigade or the cyber, or did you just after the Marine Corps, as you migrating and transitioning into civil or civilian life, that's where you picked it up?
I was a linguist in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
But after the Marines, I did sort of basic junior level tech to like a systems engineer level. So a lot of Windows consulting, some Mac, some desktop support, and that quickly turned into like specialty Exchange, Office 365 stuff, and just sort of based from there. I got a bunch of certs and started realizing, okay, like this is something I understand. I enjoy it. Now I do security consulting and NIST assessments and documentation upgrades and large scale architectural builds and working with like a major airline at this point, or a Department of Energy laboratory to do revision 4 to revision 5 NIST assessment, documentation, gap analysis. Super boring if you aren't into it and if you maybe take the project with the wrong sort of approach, but realizing like how important some of these things are and getting the security controls documented properly to prevent anything from happening.
Yeah, you need to have a framework, right? Yeah, I mean, we need to have a framework because there is no like state of being completely secure. And, unless you're all just unplugged and you're out in the woods, right? But other than that, like there is no real state of that. And so you need a framework, and different industries have different variations of similar things. But you have to, they're all the main highlights, and you have to do certain things to, I always look at it almost like a phase of maturity, right? Like as you bolster down and you improve on certain controls, then you become more secure, and then your aim should be to evolve
using what I've learned a little bit in like therapy or psychology. Was like if you push people too fast to learn something, they'll go outside of that sort of optimal window for learning. Like the 10% over your capability is generally like where you should be targeting things. Anything after that, you're going to injure yourself. If it's exercise, you're going to be frustrated, stressed out, and it's not going to be productive. If you do that to your users and you try to advance maturity too fast, they're going to revolt. They're going to leave. It's going to be frustrating. So you introduce things slowly, plan it out. You don't throw too many things at them at once, and maybe treat it as if it's your responsibility to make sure that they're trained up on certain things rather than, well, you failed that pen test, the social engineering email test, you're fired. I might have had an opportunity to fish 30 CEOs as part of a summit, and during my keynote presentation, handed them results of this secret pen test they didn't know they were part of.
Right.
And 75% of them failed abysmally.
Right.
And they all laughed it off, but it was like the point was to deliver a message like, you guys failed this with very little effort on my part. The other ones only didn't fail it because they weren't answering their phones. They were on the plane. They were on vacation.
They didn't even read it.
It just takes a few minutes and a couple different approaches.
To even click on the link, they didn't even read it. So that's the only
Open Facebook profile. Oh, you like the Red Wings? Good. Yes. You just won season tickets.
Exactly.
How lucky is that?
Right.
Wow. And like, it just happened. We'd like to send the tickets. Where should we send them? Will you be at the summit? Is your wife attending? We send them to your home, or should we bring them to you at the conference? Oh, no. No one's going to be home for 2 weeks. Perfect.
Unbelievable. Like, so, yeah. So what you're talking about is that the pretexting and social engineering and then the execution of it. And why is it, do you think, I just want to ask this right off the bat, why is it, do you think, that so many people continue to fall for social engineering and they forget, like in hindsight, they can look back and say, why did I not recognize it? It's so obvious, right? Like, why
I have a theory that I don't think anyone's put together yet. And I'm by no means a psychology expert or anything else, but
I want to hear it.
I was watching a YouTube short. Someone was asking someone, what's one of the most important things you've learned in all your research? And it was interviewing some guy in mindfulness space.
Yeah.
And he said, hurried isn't loving.
That's a great quote.
When you're hurrying and you're stressed, you're not being the best version of you with your kids, your coworkers. You're more stressed out about things. You're trying to get things done quickly. You're not doing them properly. You're not paying them the appropriate amount of attention that things should be.
Yeah, you're not being
because
mindful.
You're rushed, because you have a lot of things on your plate. So if you are running through your life with the concept of inbox zero, this goal of having no notifications in your email inbox, it means when you get too many emails, either A, you're not going to click on all of them, or B, you're going to shortcut to get through all of them and you're going to triage quickly. Yeah. Triaging emails quickly is a recipe for disaster. You will not get good results when you rush things.
Yeah. What's your thought on the, I've interviewed some neuroscientists, and what they've talked about is the amygdala hijack, right? And how when they tap in, let's say they do take the time to read something, and it's that sense of urgency. This is going to happen. You've got to go in and verify something within 24 hours. Otherwise, you're going to lose access to some system or something bad is going to happen.
Immediately, those things work on tons of people.
Really, it really works. And they talk about the amygdala. It triggers something emotionally where then you're in amygdala hijack, that foundational reptile brain of fight or flight. Like there is a woolly mammoth in the village type mentality, right? And you can't remember your neocortex, your thinking brain, your more modern brain can't operate during that time. And you can't actually remember the logical training that you've received. And so then you just click.
You could watch videos by Jocko, some of his content, and what Navy SEALs would do in terms of how they breathe to combat stress or how they breathe to prepare for stress, and the length of box breathing, or like there's all these different techniques to be able to get to sleep or how to wake up or how to prepare for something that's going to require your very utmost of focus, like getting shot at. That's definitely a situation where an amygdala hijacking / adrenaline rush would probably help. That's what it's there for. It's to combat an imminent threat that you need to be ramped up and ready for. Someone sending you a text message that you haven't verified shouldn't put you into fight or flight, but we've found ways to social engineer, aka lie to people. Pretexting, it's just lying. So instead of complicating it for people,
cybersecurity phrase for lying.
I need to figure out how to lie to you till you go, oh, okay, here's my money, or the thing that's going to allow you to get my money. People will. There's been for example, There's one common one that on the border of Mexico, people will pretend that they're calling from Mexico from a police station where someone was arrested for peeing on a church while he was drunk. Meanwhile, he's home playing Xbox, but they're calling grandparents.
Yep.
Who watch Fox News.
Yes.
And they're looking for people who are going to buy into this story. Oh, the federales are coming. You can bribe us, but you can't bribe them. And then he's going to prison. And that'll be it. Send us $1,000 Western Union, no questions, no cops. And they do it.
Still, and you think that's so like it's off app. It's so
okay, but
odd.
You're not ready for the next level. One of my agents who represents me for speaking, I was talking to not even a few months ago. She got a call and they played her daughter's voice.
Yeah.
Inside of the trunk of a car.
Deep fake.
Right. She had been traveling in Mexico. So this woman is now permanently traumatized, who has heard her daughter being kidnapped, a simulation of it, but thought it was real. That's an amygdala hijack if I ever heard one. And I can't even imagine going through that, except that I kind of can. My stepdaughter was trafficked 7 years ago.
You're kidding. Bryan,
It's
you're
not,
kidding. My God.
It is one of the reasons I kind of didn't do a lot of public stuff for a while.
Yeah.
It took a long time to get out of. There was like whatever the action movie story narrative is. I'm a Marine. I'm a hacker. I rescued my kid 6 weeks later. Police did a raid on a house that I led them to, and she's safe. However,
so you use your skills,
yes,
to rescue her, which is phenomenal.
And then immediately fell apart.
Well, yeah, exactly, because they don't show that in the films.
No, Liam Neeson's
they don't show that in the
great.
movies. They just they end right at the reconciliation.
And then he goes to like voice lessons with his daughter at a pop star's house, and he's got that sexy voice.
Yeah,
he's like it plays for movies. People want to think they're going to be a hero. You don't want to find yourself in that position. I don't know how to explain how devastating it is.
No, but
and
it's
how many
phenomenal
years of
that
nightmares.
at least it. I hate to this is the first time hearing of this, so
yeah, no, I totally.
At least it could have been worse. It could have been worse, and you
almost every scenario was worse.
Yeah, so you did remarkable work.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, did you ever want to ask us a question directly or communicate, give us feedback, make suggestions, whatever it is, you can now do that direct. There's a link in the show notes right at the top where you can text us directly, come communicate with us right here in the podcast studio, or you can text the number 904-867-4466 and text the number 201-4652 and leave your message. That is 904-867-4466 or text the number 204-4652 and leave your message. We look forward to talking to you soon.
However, like the first time I talked about it really on stage was a couple years ago for a keynote. I almost didn't do it.
Yeah.
The point, I guess the point of all of it was to make anyone who's ever gone through something like that, because it's not like we share any of that stuff publicly very often. It's the stuff we don't want to share.
Right.
You know, we share the hey, I'm going to Dubai. I'm flying this amazing first class ticket thing. Not, hey, I'm going to therapy to make sure these nightmares go away because I don't know how to make this
exactly. Because I haven't slept in 6
stuff.
weeks and I keep having the same nightmare recurring dreams. Yeah.
But guess what? The friendships you make when you do share those kinds of things, you end up having people who will go through anything with you.
Yeah.
And
unbelievable.
You need to be able to slow down and process stuff that's happening in the moment. If you're not able to do that, you might be dealing with unresolved trauma. You might be dealing with things that are causing you to have to not be alone, be around people, for example, drinking or doing drugs or overeating or gambling. They are all external distractions that are preventing you from being good by yourself. Like, you don't have to be alone even if you're by yourself, you can be good. You can have a meal. You can do something nice for yourself. But a lot of people don't do that, myself included.
Right.
Until I processed enough of this stuff going, oh, wow, okay, that's starting to make sense.
Well, and so many of us keep busy just to keep busy, right? It's just we move on from one distraction to the next so that you don't have to sit in a room and have still
and think
voice.
That you're falling behind and everyone's kicking ass at life. Yeah. And, they've got books on your shelf and I haven't even finished my second book. And the first one wasn't great, but it's also the best and worst book on the subject.
I should have put your book on the shelf for the video.
Don't do that.
Dude, by the way.
It's the worst book and best book on the subject.
I refuse to listen to these episodes because I can't stand the sound of my voice, but I'll listen to the guests speak.
How many?
So when I do the clips, I want to hear what you guys have to say. I just don't want to hear myself.
This is the good stuff. How many episodes have you done now?
238, I think.
See, and even at 238, you still haven't gotten used to it.
No,
I don't like it either. That's one of the worst tasks of having to go through. And myself. I have 200 podcasts that want me to come on, not as like a brag. It's more like, that means 200 potential hours of having to listen to my own stupid voice. I don't want to hear that. I want to listen to other podcasts and check out for a bit.
Yeah, I know, but it's all about spreading awareness, and it's about meeting like people that have played an important, role in the fabric of what we're all dealing with today. So let me ask you, let me segue a second so I saw your TMZ interview, and I think if we post this on YouTube, I don't know if I'm allowed to post the TMZ.
I'm sure you're allowed to post part of it in terms of copyright.
just for us to talk about, but the audio listeners will hear the whole interview, and it was phenomenal, by the way. So walk me through this. You get a call from TMZ, and what is going on? Because there's the Google algorithm that allows people, walk us through what was going on. So
someone used a technique similar to what I did on Google Maps to make things that weren't there actually show up on Google Maps. Some of the pranked listings I did were like, I changed the Library of Congress to the Zoolander School of Kids Who Can't Read Good.
That's awesome. On Google Maps, when you go there and you look up the Library of Congress address, it says the Zoolander School of Kids That Can't Read Good. It did for a little while,
yeah.
That's freaking brilliant. That's great.
Yeah, so many funny ones.
If you can't have a sense of humor in life and see the great art that is involved in that.
If you want to cut this next part, mark it. But I made something on Bing Maps that's probably still there in the World Trade Center. There's an office of the Lemon Party.
My God.
And it's got my cell phone number on it. And it's been there for 7 years.
My God.
I'm like, dude, this is unacceptable. But Bing Maps is just a nightmare.
Yeah.
So Google, my whole battle with them was like, hey, this is a vulnerability you guys aren't doing anything about. They're like, nah, it's just spam. And so I demonstrated it a few times and then eventually just wiretapped the Secret Service and the FBI without permission because naturally that's what was the next step, I guess.
Yeah. How did one go from that to the other? That's the part I'm missing. So you have Google Maps, you're putting these an address for Marvel instead of the Smithsonian.
People are using it to expand their businesses into locations they don't actually have.
Exactly.
For mobile businesses, carpet cleaning, locksmiths, whatever, to either scam people or beat their competition in one way, shape, or form, or for lead gen. There's a lot of scenarios, so it doesn't make it easy to pinpoint what someone's up to. However, that's going for money. What if we go for the other thing, information or power? So I thought, well, what about campaign finance or bank or congressman? What if I switched Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump's campaign phone numbers or headquarters and screwed I was so close, but I had already gotten a very big warning of you're not allowed to do that again. You know that, right? I'm like, oh yeah, totally get it. So that was the FBI in San Francisco and Secret Service in Washington, D.C., and just creating duplicates of the originals, same website, different phone numbers, same address, and then flagging the originals as spam. They disappeared and mine became the default.
Unbelievable.
Not super smart, because that's considered a crime. Wiretapping without permission. I think wiretapping there is no with permission.
Right.
And it's a 5-year penalty for one phone call, and I think I recorded 40.
And but you didn't do that with
I didn't do that to gain any information,
malintent. Like your modus operandi was for
solving a problem
and to identify it's like a vulnerability test, really. And
yes.
And you went and did it. It's like a bug bounty program almost. You went and did it. You brought it to their attention.
Almost,
right?
Being the key word. There was no financial gain because of that. Only the potential
of harm against you.
It was a demonstration of really good technical skills and really poor judgment. And
it
some
makes
late
for
night
a great night.
Yeah. It sure does. They didn't arrest me, luckily.
But did they not believe you? Like you went to the FBI or the U.S. Secret Service office, right? And you had all those recordings, and so they didn't believe you at first.
No, they thought I was a tinfoil hat crazy person. They actually said, "All right, well, we'll get a hold of you if we have any." Because it could be fabricated. It could be a false flag. It could be some sort of weird, like, he's just trying to get in here and learn more about it using some pretext.
Right.
To get us to talk about the organization. Right. Learn about tactics, response times. Who knows?
Counter-espionage, right?
Right.
Counterintelligence, sure.
I got that vibe when they were sort of like, hey, you can leave. We'll get a hold of you if we have any questions. So I said, okay, I can just prove it. And if I can't prove it in 5 minutes or less, your pizza's free. And the guy said, okay. And I said, take your phone out and call the office of the Secret Service in Washington, D.C., hoping that he would use like Washington, D.C. Secret Service or flipped around. Pulls out a phone. I'm betting it was a Google phone at that point, and Google would have been his sort of default search. Mm-hmm. And I was right. He called. This is Agent so-and-so. He knows this guy on the other end. None of us, the two other agents and myself, could not hear the conversation. He wasn't on speaker, but you could tell he knew the guy. They were familiar, small agency. He hangs up, and then I got a notification on my phone saying, you got a new call. Would you like to listen to this for quality purposes for your new campaign? Like, yes, I would. And we push play, and then I turned it on speaker, and then you could hear the phone ringing. The guy answered the phone. Secret Service, and it was that cool guy voice, like being air traffic control. And then you hear both people talking, and then he hangs up, and then all of them were like, "What do we do now?" And the one guy, all he said was, "Oh shit!" And then they took all my stuff.
Yeah, they like what? Put you in a room for a few hours.
Oh, there's a guest suite. Not suite. It's a tiny, tiny room with 2 or 3 chairs. And then everything else is bolted down. There's a handcuff bar. I'm assuming that's what that is. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem to be like an assisted, like railing for like a bathtub. It's more like
there's no shower in the room. So you're like, I don't know what the rail is for.
No. It was a real bummer of a room.
Yeah.
But I stayed in there they wanted to ask me a few questions for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Until they finally called Google and yelled at them and told them to turn off business registrations until they fixed.
So that's where the vulnerability was. Is the public was able to manipulate the way the algorithm works, right? And the way and then so Google turns this off, and the Secret Service thinks this has gone away. But then a couple months later, Google turned it back on.
Well, I demonstrated it a year later in my TED Talk. That I put a snowboarding shop in the White House called Edwards Snow Day. It's still one of my favorite jokes.
This is the first I'm hearing of this, so this is great. So by the time this goes public, I'm going to have found this, and I'm going to put clips up here.
There's a lot of articles of people going, no one knows who did this. And some people are thinking it's this guy or this guy.
And you're like, I did a TED Talk on it. Like,
no, the TED Talk hadn't even come out. It was like they found it within days of it happening. People will look on the maps for edits and for people defacing stuff. And they found it pretty fast, which is why Howard University, for the TMZ story, Howard University is a traditionally
African-American
Black college. And someone changed the entire name of it to N-word University.
My God, you're kidding. That's why it was titled
That's
like that.
why TMZ, because the co-host is Black. And also, it doesn't even need to be Black for other people to give a crap. Like, that's not a really cool thing to have.
Yeah, it's still uncool and it's got to stop. So, okay. And then, so they call the guy that is the master of this. And you're like, yeah, this is something that can happen. People can. I mean,
I'm totally for free speech, and I just want to figure out how a computer could, like, if it sees you typing that word in more than once in your lifetime, like,
how does that not get flagged?
It just shuts everything down and be like, you've been cut off. Sorry, you can't say that 6 times in, Yahoo chat.
Yeah, well, and think about, like, I think about that, and I'm like, because I'm a huge freedom. Like, free speech, you should be able to say it, even though you're an idiot. You should still be able to have your opinion. I just don't
if that wasn't true, I wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I just don't have to, like, be persuaded by your view. But the right to say it is perfectly fine. However, with an asterisk, like, if you're typing in like a machine and you're looking up bomb making material for airplanes, or you know what I mean, like stuff like that, like.
How to get rid of a body, where to buy.
Yeah, like, how does that not get, like, okay if they flag that, like, but then the problem is where's the line, right? Like, where's the line? I mean, obviously, after somebody blows up a place, they'll always go grab the drive.
It is always difficult to assign in.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Because what if you're just researching it as a kid, researching serial killers and researching how they did it?
Isn't technically, illegal to know the content,
right?
But then to act on that content, to like start gathering material.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that shows some intent to learn or apply the skill, and then you go and buy them and you start making.
How about purchases though? Like, if you're a fan of true crime, right? You always hear these people that bury somebody in the woods. They're always going to Walmart and they're always buying like the same kill kit. Like somebody's buying lye and bleach and rubber gloves and like a shovel in the same thing, and they're not buying Twinkies and milk and other stuff. Like, that's the only thing they're buying. Like, how does that not get flagged? Right?
It probably.
Yeah,
especially if you're using a debit or a credit card, and then if you brought your phone with. Most crimes now are being solved with, hey, you were in this proximity of a tower when this murder. They know everybody who had a cell phone that was near a murder scene. And they'll pick people up and you're like, I have no idea. I was in my house the whole time with another.
Well, which is why you can hear about these people getting away with some of this stuff in the 70s and the 80s, but they could never get away with it now. Right? Like there's no way you'd be tracked.
The comedian John Mulaney had the best comedy bit about that. Like 100 years ago, crime was just dumb. It was like, hey, look, there's a pool of the killer's blood.
Yeah,
bro,
exactly.
Somebody mop this up. Like, that's it. There's no DNA. You have all you had to do was walk away from the crime and no one saw you. You were scot-free.
Yeah.
And now it's very difficult.
Yeah. Well, and thankfully, right? Yeah. So, okay. So that was the TMZ interview. Yeah. And then
someone was racist on a big
Yes. And how did they do that? You came on as the expert and you went on and did it, which was fascinating. I saw another interview where you were talking about the vehicle hackings.
Oh, okay.
And this was about 6 years ago. I mean, because I remember when this first came out.
This is now, I mean, lots of people have demonstrated vehicle hacking. Yeah. It's almost the guy who hacked the plane from in the...
Right.
On its face, it sounds dumb. It is dumb. Don't do that on the thing you're flying.
Well, while you're flying it. Right. Yeah, correct. Exactly. You could demonstrate it in a simulation.
The reporter's in this Jeep or something in the interview. He's like, all right, hack my car. Be like, maybe not. Maybe be in a parking lot. Maybe.
Exactly.
Maybe anything but on the highway with other.
Right.
But they were able to do it safely and demonstrate it. And now there's car hacking villages at lots of different security.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
We are proud to be sponsored by Kiteworks, a secure content platform for CMMC compliance. Kiteworks is FedRAMP moderate authorized and helps accelerate your path to CMMC 2.0 compliance. Did you know Kiteworks puts defense contractors on the fastest path to meeting CMMC 2.0 requirements, leveraging the same zero trust framework guidance used for federal requirements? Kiteworks supports nearly 90% of the security requirements for CMMC 2.0 Level 3. This can drastically reduce the effort and costs associated with obtaining CMMC 2.0 authorization. What's really cool to us is Kiteworks has an ongoing bounty program and regular penetration testing to minimize vulnerabilities along with one-click appliance updates. Kiteworks provides unparalleled ease of use with its intuitive web UI, mobile apps, and even Outlook integration. This user-friendly experience avoids productivity disruptions during your CMMC 2.0 implementation. Accelerate your CMMC 2.0 compliance and address federal zero trust requirements with Kiteworks' universal, secure file sharing platform made for defense contractors. Visit kiteworks.com to get started. That's kiteworks.com to get started today. Absolutely. Yeah, DEF CON's had the car hacking village for a while.
They've had it at the Black Hat Conference, God, twice, if not.
Interesting. So is it the infotainment systems that mostly get compromised?
Like Teslas get connected and download updates over
the internet.
It's
right.
Like magic. It's bliss. It's cellular. It's LTE or something. And so there's a connection there that has a hardware address. And if you can start identifying these vehicles, I think that's probably the hardest part initially, is identifying which vehicle.
Right. And being
able to make some sort of connection, finding that access point, and then figuring out the programming to make it go, like turn it into a joystick and make the car. Or if it even has that capability. Sometimes it's just activate OnStar, kill the engine, some limited capability. But most cars, as we evolve, are going to have access to lots more.
Absolutely.
So, learning this stuff is good for people. People are going to try to their advantage and make every car crash. Who knows? There's limitless that people have come up with, put these, and that either people get ideas from, or at least learn at it. So it's very.
Tell us a little bit about your book. So you talk about fraud and consumer fraud and these organizations.
Mainly it was Google Maps and the reviews and the whole business around building fake to enrich yourself or to do lead. It's available on Amazon, but here's the thing. If you go on Bryan Krebs's website, Krebs on Security, I did an interview with him at one point and made the PDF available. So if you go and want to read it, get it. I don't think it's torrented because I don't think that. However, if you do want to read it for free, you can go to KrebsOnSecurity.org, type.
There you go.
It should come up with a PDF link. If you want to donate money or something, great. Donate money to and just.
There you go. That's fantastic.
So
I love it.
It's very simple. It's about the Google Maps stuff. It applies to Amazon products. Will have fake reviews, and they're always combating that stuff. Amazon's usually pretty good about it. However, no one really is. No one's really developed a really good system.
Yeah.
And AI will be used to check reviews, but then AI will be used to write them, and there'll be this back and forth web and.
Well, that's what we're seeing. Let's talk about that arms race briefly. So what is your take on deep fakes? Because those scare the dickens out of me, because I have created an avatar of myself. I've been able to, like I did a couple segments on this show where it wasn't even me, and like some people that know me well could see it, but a lot of people that know me pretty well could not. And that is really scary.
The amount of time you were talking in that last sentence was enough to generate a semi-decent.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
They aren't good at. So if you watch narration on YouTube videos and you start recognizing the same voice from these websites that people use, because they're using products. It's kids, it's teenagers, it's people in third world countries figuring out.
Yeah, it's the Hey Gens of the world and stuff like that.
And they're smart. They're using it. They're executing a very long-term strategy, and it seems to work, but they don't know how to say API. They say FB or AI.
Exactly right.
And it's so silly when it's going fast, and you're like,
yeah, did he just say, and how the FB fights cybercrime? Really? Did they just say that?
It's somebody calling my friend who then calls me to network me into the conversation saying, oh yeah, he said they found virus.
Yes.
Like,
right.
For one, that's say that.
Right.
Two, they're from Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
They don't.
Have you ever tried to get Microsoft on the phone? You're not getting them, let alone them calling you.
If all your
yes, like it's not going to happen.
But the dead way was, we are Microsoft. We are from Redmond.
Yes. Yes. Redmond, Washington, D.C.
No, that's not correct. Sorry. No.
Yes.
And my friend who's Colorado was like, no, I mean, these guys are really, really sure. I'm like, of
course they know.
No con artist is like sort of.
Yes.
You don't have a Mac. You don't have a PC. You don't have one.
Right.
They don't have access to your computers. They're lying. They're lying to you.
Right.
Get your money.
It's pretexting, Bryan. It's pretexting.
There's Redmond, Washington, and then there's Washington, D.C. Those are
on the opposite sides of the country.
Only someone who's not from the United States would think, okay.
Right.
That's how you know. That's how the acronym. I saw an AI generated image yesterday that someone from church for growing up, like the mother of one of my friends, shared. And it's this really attractive police dude, nice haircut, holding his little son, raising his son alone, joined the church, joined the police force, trying he's a movie star looking, good looking kid. There's no way either of them are police officer and child. They're movie stars. Number two, the flag on his uniform is missing.
There you go.
But the flag on his house has an extra one.
There you go.
And then there's like 200 stars in the little. They're like, no one's catching this. They're exploiting the patriotic part of you, and you didn't even notice the literal patriotic part. No. And then they think you're bashing them for being Christian, when it's like, no, they're collecting information about you, exploiting that.
Yeah.
Because they know it's something that you're passionate about. And it's the amygdala hijack, like you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They're preying on something of yours that's.
It's exactly. It hits the emotional component. Yep.
Work.
Exactly right. So one of the stories that I heard, which was amazing, was the one where an employee gets a phishing email, business email compromise. It's an email, right? And it says, hey, need you to wire some funds or do something, right? And they're like, no, that's weird. I'm not doing it. But they say, okay, well, then they follow it up with like a calendar invite for a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting, and they jump on the call. Yeah, and the person is there, and there's like 7 or 8 people on that call, all of names that are in their directory at the company, right? And they might have met a couple of them remotely, and some others they might not know, but the names line up.
That happened in Hong Kong.
Yes.
Like $20 million or something. It was
like $25 million in a series of transactions that added up to $25 million. And they were able to ask questions and get their questions answered all in real time.
If I set up the right, like I've got a laptop right now, but I also have an external card that does deepfake processing. You can do time, like right now I have 7 different cameras. So I've got the one here, it's got a teleprompter, it's got a low light lens, it's full frame, but I've also got a webcam somewhere. I've got virtual cameras that are designed to take software and pipe it into UC. So some of them, like you've got your David Morrow and Bryan here, that overlay, or like for third, or like branding logos, you've got a lot of options for software to do that. But then the deepfake option will process thing and show you who you think you're being, and then fix the voice and fix the mouth. And with enough processing in advance, you can make the thing say anything, especially with this narrow view.
Exactly.
And narrow.
Right. And that's
the only way to really combat it is to make them do.
Yeah, make them move their hand by their face,
or
make
have
them
a business
turn,
process that
right?
prevents that from happening in that
Right.
way.
Exactly.
Cannot do in changes over the phone, over text, over
without
email,
independently verifying through a normal channel, right? I mean, that's the thing that boggles my mind when I hear of some of these breaches. There was a breach of a very large company. I'm not going to name their name, but the person that got breached, they kept pinging their multi-factor authentication, right?
Oh,
And
that's like lapsus. How to
Yes.
do that with
it's like, yeah, it's the MFA fatigue. And then they get on like the Slack channel or the Teams channel, and they're like, you know, hey, we're IT, or no, they actually got them on WhatsApp, which was not a company communication channel. They're like, hey, this is IT. We're just doing this. Could you please approve the MFA approval because we're resetting something for security? And the person's like, yeah, that's fine. Boom. Why do people not realize they're not going to communicate to you through freaking WhatsApp? Like, they're not going to go, like, your internal IT or your security provider is not going to communicate to you off channel to get something done.
Remember what I mentioned? Hurry.
Yeah.
People don't want to lose their jobs. People are being bombarded with information and new stuff. Expensive. So all of a sudden you take someone out of their element to do, and someone's messaging them on WhatsApp, and oh, okay, hold on.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not taking time to think because this person's pushing the. And there should be a process that every employee goes through in the very beginning saying, these are the threats.
Right, exactly.
If you're a driver, you got to know someone's to a truck, steal what truck, kill you and steal the truck. Like, maybe list them out, even if it is scary. You need to know, if you go hike in Alaska and you don't bring a spray, bear food, you are going out there to bring.
Yes.
And people are going to tell you that there's bears out there because it's a very problem with big. And you.
Yeah. I love the bear analogy. We use the bear analogy often because I kind of, because I think, like, you're a hiker in the woods, you know, it's a bad terrain and there's a bear. You hear it, you see it, you need certain things, certain best practices to kind of see where the bear is, do a bear, like throw out a bear trap, have bear spray. You have to know what to do should the bear approach you. Are you supposed to get big? Are you supposed to just cower? You're going to try and outrun that thing, right? Like all of those things.
How many people think you could fight a bear and win? The surveys that people have actually done, I could beat a lion, gorilla, a bear, be like, no.
Right. And you're not going to outrun it. You just have to outrun the other hiker with you. Like, that's it. So
they run 40 miles an hour.
Yes.
You don't. Neither does Usain Bolt.
Right. You just have to, the other guy with you who's not in as good a shape, you just have to be able to outrun them.
If they could get the bear's like inner monologue, he's like, oh, I'm going to get you. Oh, he's climbing a tree. I wonder, oh, that's dumb. I wouldn't have done that. Like, guess who's good at climbing?
Yeah, exactly. Right here. Won a medal. I've got a medal in it in grade school. They awarded it to me.
Oh, I love a good high.
It's great. They're going to be frisky, are they? Here we go. I'm on my way.
Favorite tree?
It's my favorite tree. I was up there Thursday.
Knowing what the risks are and rushing.
Yes.
And not rushing your employees, not forcing them to do more than is possible reasonably.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I don't think when people start an organization, they get all the standard boring security awareness training, right? But they don't get the training of like, these are the apps that we use. This is how we communicate. If somebody's reaching out to you outside of this for work related stuff, stop. Like don't do
romance scams, for example.
No one's
there's people pretending to be soldiers stuck in the field, and they need you to send them money so they get home. We don't just send one guy.
We don't do that.
Right. That's not how any of this works. They have so much access to internet and other things. They don't need no. But so much money's lost because people want to believe, and people are very charming.
Yep. Well, and they're calling from Redmond, Washington, D.C.
Correct.
Right.
Good old hometown of Redmond, D.C.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that need to get adjusted. And the more people know about this, I don't like just, hey, it's fear. You need to operate and live that way. I mean, outlets that make a living that way, and that's fine.
No, I think it's more just being aware and just having, like, if you can entertain people and get people to kind of enjoy the process of being aware of some of these outrageous stories, then it kind of can resonate, right? Like,
and not make them feel guilty.
No, it happens to really smart people. Like,
some of the smartest people in the world are also very big idiots and make dumb choices. And like, if you're busy, you're like, yeah, fine. And,
right.
Oh, whoops, there goes the company. So don't take yourself too seriously. You're not as important as you think you are. Like, you're researching cancer, and then you totally are, and don't check your phone.
Yes, and please don't. Yes, please don't. If you're actually doing something that matters in the world,
we need to be protecting.
Please, don't approve the MFA if somebody contacts you on WhatsApp.
Whether or not you like Joe Rogan, one of his bits is my favorite. He goes, until I send you in the woods and you can put a camera in a smartphone and take a picture to me. Like, where are those people who know how to do that? I know how to do that. Like, we need to be protecting people, because we're all screwed if, like, we go back to the Stone Age.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's a great
more people know about it. You'd be surprised how often people I know from 12-step meetings, parents have sent money to get couriers to bring them lottery winnings from countries they've never been to, let alone played the land.
Right.
But they want to believe so badly.
Well, and that's where the AI deepfake part really plays into the emotions too, because they can mimic somebody's voice and be like, "This is your daughter," right? Like I need something, and it sounds just like her. And if you hear that as a parent, right, you're just like, "Oh my God." But that's at the moment when you have to go, hang on, let me try and reach out to her. Like, just let me double check, right? You have to have that independent verification step in everything that you do.
Fight or flight response on information that you can't easily verify. Just being able to go, all right, if I'm going to panic, I can panic later. So just chill out. Right. Like, we'll put this on hold.
Pause it. Yeah. Just put a pin in the absolute panic, but if freak out stage, and then do it.
The idea that you send or you post tons of video while traveling.
Yeah, I think we've done a good job, but please don't do that. Like, listeners, like,
wait.
You can just wait until you're home, because there are people, I mean, the OSINT, the ability to, and when you take a picture, right? Don't take a picture with like your family members in back, or that shows your home and everything. Like, they're able to determine all of that stuff, right? They're able to determine from the metadata, like where the picture was taken, when the picture was taken.
Most websites will strip out the metadata, but there are some people, I swear to God, even know how much time it would take. But some of the GeoInt guys who guess this location challenge will then, in less than seconds, go, that looks like sub-Saharan Africa soil. Oh, no, that garbage can's from Mali. All right, look, it's Mali. Let's pick this city, and they go bang, and it's like and you're like, how many times have you done this? But they can recognize soil, just
that's
soil.
Exactly right. I had Michel Kahn on, and he was explaining.
I was just talking to Michel like 15 minutes ago, because we both spoke at Black Hat. We both are in a. He's one of my.
Yes. Yeah, I've got his.
If it's Phantom in case it's not obvious, he is by far a better hacker.
He's phenomenal. Like, do you know that his public address was like the address for Tony Stark in Marvel? And like when you look him up online and stuff, his home address.
Well, he's got Iron Man in the background of his studio. And he worked for one of
the address of Marvel. Like that's his. When you go into those U.S. people searches and stuff like that, where they'll be able to find all of our houses. Yeah, his address is like Tony Stark's house.
Yeah, and the guy he worked with for a long time was an former FBI agent who's a privacy. He's like, get off the grid, disappear completely, put your car in a real estate trust, get a license flipper, and like he doesn't have any photos of him on the internet, and like, well, okay, I honestly do get the reason for that level of, but it does make it easier to exist in the world when even if it's not an attractive face. Like I've never been good looking. I've been fine with that. Like I didn't become a model. That's why
I'm not. That's why I've got a great face for radio.
Correct.
Right.
And then you never have to worry about it because you're not trying to be that. And you can then go and people recognize you and you can get more gigs. If he's already got all the pedigree he needs and he's got all the, it's fine. Second to things.
Yeah.
And we get along just great.
Yeah. That's great.
Pinging stuff off of him, be like, hey, can you help me figure this out? And like, it's just.
Well, he's one of those guys that does that. He'll like throw a picture up and what the threads are amazing because like you said, within minutes, somebody's like looking at the soil. They're looking at the way the sun is beating down. They can tell you what time of day it was, where it was.
Right. You can go, okay, north, south, east, west. This is northern hemisphere.
Phenomenal.
I can tell you usually if it within a few hundred miles all the time. If I'm lucky, I'll get it within a mile or two because I can see a turnpike or like a street sign that looks like something I've recognized because I've just traveled a lot. But if you've never traveled, these guys have just been playing this for so long, or they're sitting around on the Google Maps street.
Right.
But
reverse image.
That level of usefulness. And people use these challenges to find people and like go look for.
Unbelievable. Well, my friend, I could talk to you for hours. So just phenomenal. So entertaining. One of the most interesting guests we've had, I got to tell you. It's true. What, as we depart, as we wind down, like what are some of the best practices? What are some of your top best practices that you want to tell people to do?
Well, I tell my teenage daughter, don't date a DJ, but I don't think that applies here.
Good one. That's a good one. I believe I've told my daughter that as well.
Try to make your passwords easy. Use lyrics from like a favorite song, have a couple modifiers, but don't be predictable. Or keeping database records of all the passwords you've ever used, not just the one that was breached. They're figuring out how to assemble a dossier on you. Don't use all your stuff.
That is the weakest. There's something I read a stat a couple weeks ago. It was something like 70% of everybody reuses. They're like, I've got a great password. I use it on everything. And I'm like,
Tabasco or Red Hot.
I'm like the first thing you said was great, that you have a great password. The second phrase is what kills you, right? You cannot reuse it.
If you can't figure out what a good password is going to be, try to make something that's funny or look up funny password ideas and then extrapolate, but don't copy. Because like my dog is a terrible driver. I think my dog is an alcoholic. Those are things that are no space, no caps. If you have to put a cap, great. But you don't remember this nonsense stuff that you have to write down. And if you have to write it down, it's going to get stuck somewhere and someone's going to see it. password manager like 1Password. Don't use the one that's in browser because it's Chrome plugins, Firefox you'll find out 6 months later that was a Trojan horse and it was just collecting data on you and sending it to the developer.
Exactly.
Use VPNs when you can. One that I will advocate for is like,
I was just about to say Proton. They're not a sponsor. I use Proton VPN all the time. You can have it on your phone. You can have it there.
Email.
Yeah, Proton email is great.
The only ones I know that their keys weren't leaked at web.
Yep.
Meaning that traffic could get inspected and people could see what you're actually doing. Or they don't logs or sell you out with a subpoena as other things. Mm-hmm. Go and look at your stuff on the internet as if you were trying to sell. Mm-hmm. Look at your address, name, find yourself in white pages. You can go to a variety. I think I'd even...
Yeah, I've got
Operation Privacy.
OperationPrivacy.com is fantastic.
To be able to get yourself off the internet legally, removing yourself house from Google. And Michelle makes this available for free. He does it enough. The idea being some people want to pay for the service, some for free. Go and spend the time, and because it's your kids and family that are sort of hanging there. And I don't say that like lightly. It's just...
No, it's absolutely true. And I always tell everybody to freeze their credit. Freeze your credit, freeze your child's credit. Like people forget to freeze their kids' credit.
It takes less time to unfreeze your credit than defrost meal that you've had in the freezer. So it's
that's phenomenal. Great advice. Great discussion. I would love to have you on again, man.
If you ever run out,
dude, I would love. I say we take one of the breaches that happens and just go to town on it and just talk it through. There's so many. Yeah, there's so many. There's so many good life lessons that could be learned in a breach. And when I look at them, I don't try and blame the security team or anything because it could always happen. But the point is there's usually a good life lesson in there that we can all learn.
Even CrowdStrike thing that happened recently, the way CrowdStrike handled it was amazing. Yes. But then there's other responses that aren't so amazing. When a company will look at how much a breach was actually affecting their data. Oh, well, some of our data was compromised, but no one got access to... Okay, they got access to everything.
Yes. You always find out it's like 6 weeks after the SEC filing. Right? Like they're like, yeah, well, it really wasn't that big of a deal, investors. Don't you worry. And then like 6 weeks later,
the conclusion
they got everything.
Is the people who do penetration tests on their own companies, because some of them are required to, the people who actively look for vulnerabilities are the people going to therapy. Like that. If you're going to therapy, it's to resolve things that are problematic in your life that are no longer serving you. Maybe you've got anger issues. Maybe you've got a drinking problem. If I see someone too much, usually it means, there's something wrong in their life. That's the solution. It's not the problem. It's not. You go to therapy, you find the problems, you deal with them, you move on to the next thing. It's not a race, but the faster you get through them, the better.
Yep. That is fantastic. Thanks so much, Bryan. I had a fantastic talk, man. That was absolutely great. We will definitely talk again.
It's the only way I'll get included in a conversation with Chris Voss or some awesome guests.
You will. I would love to have you guys all on. We should have you and Michelle on. And I'll throw up some images. We'll throw up some images and we'll just see what we can figure out. Actually, it's really not fair having him on. You and I can do it because you're really good at it. I'll throw up some images. And
compared to Michelle.
That's fantastic.
I'm funnier.
Yes, we'll say you're much more entertaining. It's great. No offense, Michelle. Like Michelle's fantastic.
I mean, I'd rather have his skill sets than be fun.
Yes, he's pretty amazing, man. He worked for Brazel, right? Thomas Brazel or Michael Brazel, and he's like the fixer in Hollywood who will go and like when a celebrity buys a home, they're able to like keep it off the grid, and because celebrities still get on social media, but they can't get on social media as themselves.
And you can tell like an LLC,
right?
And all their information was scrubbed from the time that anyone's ever heard of them, or they had credit, and like you go back, but then every so often someone, the wife, or they forget like the nephew, or like,
or it comes out in litigation later or something, and then it gets disclosed.
Right. There are billionaires that would be on the Forbes list who pay to be off of the list.
Yes.
So if anyone ever thinks like, I got to be a billionaire and I want to be on the Forbes list, what do they do? Oh yeah. Right. They don't want their kids kidnapped and held for ransom. They don't want to be in the public.
They don't want to draw the life. They have enough things that they're happy about in life. They don't need to draw that life. Yes, that's exactly right. Very cool. All right, man. Thank you so much. Great episode. I will talk to you soon. I promise. Thanks, buddy. All right. Talk to you. Bye. Come join us as we go behind the scenes of today's most notorious cybercrime. Every time we get online, we enter their world. So we provide true storytelling to raise awareness, interviewing global leaders making an impact and improving our world. Translating cybersecurity into everyday language that's practical and easy to understand. We appreciate you making this an award-winning podcast by downloading our episodes on Apple and Spotify and subscribing to our YouTube channel. This is Cybercrime Junkies, and now the show.